It's been a hard day's night, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm glad you decided to stop by here with another great edition of Reactions to the Classics. I'm Trey, joined again today by Sean. We are in the third part of our series where we are going through and reviewing every Beatles album chronologically, and we are here today to A Hard Day's Night. So this is the first time we've ever listened to this album in full. Of course, you know the hits. But, you know, in a full album format, there are a lot of songs on here we've never heard before. So if this is your first time joining us, man, thank you so much for stopping by. Here at Reactions to the Classics, we take a look back at some of the most classic albums of all time and give a track-by-track review. A lot of the times, like this, it's the first time we've heard the album. So if that sounds something interesting to you, please hit that big red subscribe button, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. And as always, we got the songs in here, but we'll not be able to play the full studio version. So all that good fun stuff out of the way, man. Let's get into some quick facts.
All right, Trey, this thing was released on July 10th, 1964 in the UK, a couple weeks earlier in the US. A little bit different version in the US.
Yeah.
In the UK, side A is everything that was in the movie, and side B were songs that were cut from the movie. In the US, side A is the same as in the UK, but side B has some instrumentals and a few other things. There's 13 songs in this one. It's 30 minutes long.
Yeah, again, short, sweet, to the point.
The official third album of the Beatles. And this thing is ranked 307th on the Rolling Stones Best 500 Albums of All Time.
Yeah, and this was interesting too because the previous two albums we listened to had 6 covers on them. These are all original compositions by Lennon and McCartney, showcasing their songwriting abilities and talents progressing through that time. 9 of those songs are headed up by Lennon and sung by him, and he was the MVP, man, I'm telling you, of this entire record.
Oh yeah, he was great. This really is the change where the Beatles start to go down a track of just unbelievable innovation.
We started this thing off with the title track, A Hard Day's Night. This is ranked 154 on the Rolling Stones top 500 songs of all time. And something really interesting about this in both the US and the UK in August of '64 on both the album and the singles charts was #1. Never had been done before. That's just really insane when you think about it with all the competition, but it held that top dog spot, and even this song won a Grammy in 1965 as well.
Yeah, and this was the 5th of 7 songs in a row in a 1-year period that held #1 on the U.S. charts, a record that has not been broken. It's an unbelievable run, and this song is known for they call it the mighty guitar chord that starts the album. It's 12-string Rickenbacker guitar that Harrison had, and their producer George Martin said he started off that way on purpose. They knew it would be the first chord heard on not only the album, but on the movie, so he wanted it to be memorable, and it is. It's unmistakable. You just hear that.
Yeah, you hear that, and you like, this is A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah,
I know
we're
this,
on.
man.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And just kind of the song itself, this guy's working all day to buy his woman things, and he comes home, he's all tired, but his lover does things to perk him up. So the song himself, man, I thought it was really awesome. This is one of my favorite Beatle tracks of all time that I know, because it's really good instrumentally, nice powerful vocals, and you're just ready to get up and rock. All right, then we go into track number 2. I should have known better. This is also led by Lennon, as was A Hard Day's Night, and this was a B-side to A Hard Day's Night, reached number 53 on the Billboard chart.
Yeah, and this song's heavily influenced by Bob Dylan. When the Beatles met him, he had just a great impact. McCartney had stated that Dylan's lyrics are great, and Lennon said that helped inspire him to write this song.
Going to the song itself, I thought this was a good track. Obviously not as good as Hard Day's Night,
right,
but still a good follow-up to that, and I enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, it's 2 strong songs to start this album. Well, next up we have If I Fell, which is credited as Lennon with McCartney. This thing reached number 53 on the Billboard Top 100 when it was released.
Yeah, and the thing that stuck out to me on this one was the harmonies, man. They shared a single microphone, Lennon and McCartney did, so that's kind of probably how you got that unique sound to it. And yeah, I thought this was a kind of an underrated track on here, man. It was more low-key than a lot of the other songs on here, but I thought it was good, and a good kind of tempo shifts within the song, which is something I always appreciate whenever everything's just not the same all the time. And what about you?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really good song, and they kind of idolized early on in their careers back in like 58, 59 when they were first forming into a group, the Everly Brothers, and so that's where they kind of got sharing the same mic, and they do it several other times over the years.
Then we get into track number 4, the token Harrison-led track on this record, and this was written specifically for George Harrison. And man, I promise we're not some George haters on here. I really like George. He has some of my favorite Beatles songs.
Great guy. Seems like a great guy.
Down the line, you know, Something is one of my favorite songs from the Beatles, but this, man, it wasn't there for me, just like Devil in Her Heart from the last record I wasn't a fan of. I don't know, I think it was his vocals, something about it, but what'd you think of this one?
I thought it was okay. I mean, I don't think I thought as little of it as you did, but I mean, it's definitely one of the weaker songs on this album, and it's kind of designed that way. They wrote it specifically for George. They wanted to make sure he had a track on here, so Lennon and McCartney years later, Lennon said he would not have sung it himself. Paul said that it was a formula song. So overall, I mean, it was okay for me. All right, Trey, now we come to the first McCartney song on here, and I love her. The song went all the way to number 12 on the U.S. Top 100 chart. When McCartney talked about it, he said it was an interesting song because the title only comes in the second verse. He said usually you go to town on the titles, but it comes in the second verse and never comes back.
Yeah, and this was interesting too. Paul really thought highly of it. He said it was the first song he kind of impressed himself with.
Yeah.
Lennon said it was his first Yesterday, obviously one of McCartney's most famous songs of all time. I like this one as well, and I thought it was a good bounce back from the Harrison-led track that we had before this. Then we go into Tell Me Why, another song led by Lennon, and this is kind of differentiated from the other songs because we got a 3-part harmony.
We do.
You know, they're the kings of the harmonies, man, and you see that all throughout the entire record, and this song is no different. This was a very underrated one I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and this appears in the film where they're singing at the Scala Theater in front of 350 people, paid actors, and one of those paid actors was a 13-year-old Phil Collins, who went on to be with Genesis and then a huge individual star in the 80s. But the most interesting thing about this song is that's the only time they ever performed it live, and it's a really good song, so that's kind of a shame. All right, Trey, we're up to the closing track of the A-side, and quite the closing track it is. Can't Buy Me Love, McCartney-led track, very, very famous, released in the US and UK, topped the US charts for 4 weeks, and it jumped from number 27 to number 1 in a single week, so up until Billboard changed the way they did their charts in 1991. But before that, it was the biggest single jump ever for a song to jump to number 1.
Yeah, it's crazy, and whenever it reached number 1, they had the top 5 spots on the Hot 100 consecutively, along with Twist and Shout, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Please Please Me, and She Loves You. So nobody else has ever done that. And during its second week, the Beatles had 14 songs on the Hot 100. So pretty unbelievable company there. And the song itself, man, I just thought it was awesome. One of my favorites on this record. Though I thought Lennon was far and away the MVP of this entire album, I thought McCartney had the highest spot with this song in here, just the Can't Buy Me Love, you know, just a nice, very catchy tune as their, you know, the Beatles, that's their calling card, dude.
Yeah, and I love this song, man. This song is great. It's one of my all-time favorite songs of the Beatles. It's right up there, probably in my top 5, maybe top 10. Well, Trey, we're going to start off with the B-side. One of my favorite songs on this album, Anytime at All, or Anytime at All, as John says. I mean, Lennon is just on fire vocally in this. McCartney does have to sing the second Anytime at All in each chorus because Lennon simply couldn't reach that high. Paul had a greater vocal range, but Lennon's vocals are just, throughout the Beatles run, just so powerful.
Yeah, and they also used a little trick here that they used in A Hard Day's Night. George Martin lightly echoed Harrison's guitar. He echoed it note for note on the piano, so kind of a little, you know, be listening out for that. But I'm with you, Sean. I never heard this before, but this is a hidden gem, man.
That little trick you talked about with George Martin, he's kind of the unheard of MVP of the Beatles.
No, for sure.
He has a lot of little things throughout their whole catalog of little tricks in the studio that just really revolutionized things.
Then we go into another Lennon-led track, I'll Cry Instead, and this song showcases kind of the branching out of genres that they were already, putting their feet in the water for a little bit, because it's rooted in country and western, which is what they enjoyed playing.
Yeah, especially Ringo. He loved country music.
Yeah, and Cynthia Lennon, John's first wife, said that this was kind of a cry for help, that Lennon was an idol for millions, but the fun of the early days, she said, was kind of gone a little bit.
You got to just think, like, you just can't go anywhere. You just can't do anything. It had to be really, really tough.
This, I thought, was another underrated, good hidden gem in here that you don't hear a lot, obviously, on the top hits of the Beatles or anything, but I thought this was a really good track.
All right, Trey, we're up to Things We Said Today, which is a McCartney-led tune that is the last one of his on this album. I love the sound of this. It has a different kind of sound. It's just, this B-side is so good, although none of the songs ever became hits. This song is actually on the B-side in the UK of A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were able to listen to it, but it never really became anything.
Yeah, it took off like I think it should have, because I'm with you, Sean. I thought it had a very unique sound. You could see really starting to branch out musically from those first two records. So.
Yeah, I think once the B-side starts right away with Any Time at All, you're going, oh wow, they're starting to grow.
Yeah, this progression.
And this song just follows right along with it. It's just different too. It's just a really cool song.
Then we go back into a Lennon-led track, When I Get Home. This was typical of the Beatles at this time. They made the vocal leap into the falsetto.
Yep.
I thought this was another powerful vocal performance by Lennon, and he kind of differentiated his vocals here a little bit to go and complement the musical backing pretty nice.
Yeah, I just thought it was a good song. I mean, lyrically, it's fine. It fits right in on this B-side of sounding a little bit different than all their other stuff. So, really good for me. All right, Trevor, the next to the last song, once again a Lennon-led song, You Can't Do That.
Harrison wrote the riffs to the intro and the outro of the song in the studio.
Yeah, one of the things that was really difficult for Harrison and Ringo as well, but one of the amazing things about George is, Lennon and McCartney wrote these songs, and for this particular album, a lot of them they wrote the day before or the week before.
Yeah.
So they knew what they were bringing in the studio. So they come in and explain the song, and then boom, they just go record it, which just makes the Beatles even more amazing that there wasn't all this rehearsal. But during that, oftentimes, Harrison would hear it and go, well, I got to do something else for this, man. And he would just pipe these things off like right when they were recording them for the first time.
That's just incredibly impressive and difficult to do. And that would be stressful if I'm in Harrison's shoes, like, gosh, what are they going to bring me here? What am I going to have to, manipulate some stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
And go on the fly. But all in all, man, really good song.
Really good.
Then we go into the album's closer, I'll Be Back. This is sung by both Lennon and McCartney.
Yeah.
So we got the dual singer songwriters here. I would say for me, when I was listening to it, I noticed it was the most different musically compared to the rest of the record, the most out there and eccentric of anything on A Hard Day's Night. But I still enjoyed it and thought it was a good preview to what we might get in the future.
George Martin talks about his philosophy when he was talking about this song. And with albums, he wanted to start the A-side and end the A-side strong, start the B-side, end the B-side strong, and kind of put he didn't use the word filler, but the weaker stuff in between. And, with the Beatles, sometimes there just is no weak stuff, but very good track to end on. That brings us right into our favorite songs. For me, A Hard Day's Night, Can't Buy Me Love, and I know that sounds cliche, but those songs have stood the test of time. 55 years later, they're still banging. People still know what they are. And I'll add in Any Time at All that starts the B-side. I just love that song. What about you?
I'd echo those three, and I'd also put in a couple hidden gems. The Laid Back, If I Fell, I thought that was really a nice song that doesn't get much airplay. As long as You Can't Do That, I thought it was a nice, powerful performance by Lennon, who just was killing it on the entire record. And that's going to take us into our overall score. What you give this thing, Sean?
Well, I give it an 8.5, and I'll tell you what, man, it's just... the Beatles are just outstanding. It's hard to find any bad songs. And there's even songs that I don't like as much.
Yeah.
It's just, they're just unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm going to be right there with you, Sean. 8.5. I thought this album was consistently great. And if I gave Please Please Me the same exact score, but I'd say that A Hard Day's Night is better than Please Please Me just by a little bit. In my mind, I know you gave Please Please Me an 8.75.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have that kind of a problem, listen to them both.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, but man, I thought this thing was banging, and I guess that's gonna do it from us today, man. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that big thumbs up, as well as hit that big red subscribe button. We upload twice a week, and we're for sure gonna keep churning out these Beatles records, man. Let us know below and comment your favorite track on this record and just your thoughts on this as a whole. And appreciate it as always, Sean. You
A lot of
joining us.
fun.
And until next time, my friends, happy listening, and we will see you.